Dan Jordan tends to have pretty good good luck up here. I know he won 2 Boston Opens last year, I think, or the year before, the end of 2010, and then sometime in 2011, I think, 2 consecutive SCG Boston events. We're not in Boston, but we're close.
Close enough.
Yeah, I mean, he maybe has to try a little bit harder.
People from right. People from Boston drive about. He probably drove like less than an hour.
Yeah, Jack Grannon again from Boston, as we featured him early.
It's about an hour between the 2 cities, which is insane. Dan Jordan is on
Junk
Greene,
Reanimator, I guess.
Yeah, green, black, white Reanimator deck. And Brian Greene has a classic Jund deck.
So Dan on a turn 1 Avacyn's Pilgrim and a turn 2 Avacyn's Pilgrim to Brian Greene's just turn 2 Farseek.
So yeah, Brian has pretty much all the stand stuff. He has a couple nice one-offs.
Bloodbraid Elf Lightning, right? Typical.
No, none of those. This is not your old standard Jund deck. It does have 2 Bonfire of the Dams that I believe
he just decided to cast it and wipe away those Avacyn's Pilgrims. Now that's kind of backbreaking at this point because Dan missed his 2nd land drop, and he
also had a Borderland Ranger in his hand, ready to go.
Oh wow!
Oh jeez.
Well, the good news is he's close to being able to discard an Angel of Serenity out of his hand.
If you could call that.
Hey, so looking for the upside, looking for the silver lining. Huntmaster of the Fells from Brian Greene, and
it should be just a Wolfrun activation this turn, I would imagine.
Looks like he's going to go ahead and take out that Pilgrim. I like that play even better.
I mean, I would have preferred to flip the Huntmaster.
Sure, but I mean, when your opponent's on 1 land, I think I'd keep I'd keep the Pilgrims and the Elves off the board if I could, you know. So here we go, Strangleroot Geist and Huntmaster, and Dan's just going to scoop them up.
Doesn't have any spells to cast.
Does not.
I think he was actually dead too.
Yeah, he may have been getting close to
because the flip would have dealt 2 to him, and then no Wolfrun.
Yeah, he was taking 2, 4, 6 there, right, and so he would have been at 13, and then would have taken 2, 4, 6, 8. 10, so he was pretty close to dead on the backswing, and yeah, I mean you can't really ask for much out of a deck that only gives you 1 land. So
yeah, so going to sideboard. Looks like Dan doesn't have too much. The coolest card in his sideboard is by far Divine Reckoning. Each player gets 1 creature and has to sacrifice the rest.
Yeah, 2 copies of that in the board.
That's a good one. I don't think it's for this matchup. I think he's far more likely to, maybe play a Sever. He's got a main deck Centaur Healer that's not very good, so he can make that small swap. He's also been. I talked to him earlier today, and I think that Deathrite Shaman is one of the better cards, and he wish he had more of them.
Well, he's got 2 in the board, 1 in the main.
Yeah, so he might just bring those in just for just to have additional like accelerant type cards.
You said that you used Deathrite Shaman in your
I think it's fantastic, especially potent with Grizzly Salvage. I wish Dan would have Evolving Wilds to further take advantage of it.
Sure.
Because you don't need to use it as a Birds of Paradise very often before you're just before you've just gone all the way, gone as far as you need to.
Right, you got what you needed out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Dan's list, not at all exactly, but reminiscent of the list that made the finals last week in Cincinnati. Chris Weininger playing, I believe, a 4-color Reanimator list.
This actually reminds me more of, I think Brad Nelson did a playtest video with a 3-color thing. That's probably what this is,
more modeled after.
Yeah.
And we saw how powerful it can be to, basically, I think last week, Chris Weininger's deck just totally showcased the power of Angel of Serenity. And when you can get those online off of on Burial Rites very early, it's just that much more powerful.
Not only that, is you have like a good amount of mana sources. You have, in addition to, I believe it's something like 23 or 24 land, he has 7 elves, 4 pilgrims, 3 arbor elves, 2 Borderland Rangers, 4 Mulches, which draw you extra lands, and even Grizzly Salvage can find you a land. So there's a lot of mana so you can get into hard cast range.
Sure.
And not just on Burial Rites. Because that's important, because there's actually no way to discard a card in this deck. Once
unless
you draw,
you just keep a one-lander and then and then
as
stall
Dan
out,
Jordan
yeah.
will tell you, that's not
That
a very
wasn't
good
the
strategy.
ideal. That wasn't the ideal plan there. He wasn't trying to
Right, so,
discard the angel and then exhume it. Is that?
Yeah, Brian Greene's on the other hand has a couple hate. He's got a nice set of hate cards. He has 2 Deathrite Shamans of his own, and then he has 2 Grafdigger's Cage. Dan might. He didn't show that he was playing Reanimator, though.
Exactly.
He might just be playing green-white.
Yeah, all Brian saw was Forest, Avacyn's Pilgrim, and is that it?
Yep.
Dan didn't play any other spells.
No.
So that's a tough, that's a tall order for somebody to sideboard against. You basically just saw green-white.
So if I was Brian, I would not. I mean, I might sideboard like something like Bardo Blood.
Yeah, because you think you're facing down creatures.
2 Bardo Blood. Basically, you know you're going to face down a green creature deck. That's all you know. Like, you don't know if Nighthawk's good. There's Vampire Nighthawk. Sever the Bloodline may or may not be good. But you can assure that like he has Slaughter Games and Rakdos Returns. And I probably wouldn't commit to the Deathrite Shaman or the Grafdigger's Cage at this point.
No, I don't think I would either. Not if I've only
Unless if you know something.
Sure, and that's what I was about to say. Like, Dan Jordan is something of a known player, and so it's not impossible that you're, even if you weren't sitting near him or, you don't know him, you're walking by a table and you see him playing, you're like, I wonder what he's playing. I did that this morning when he was building. It was like, hey, there's Dan Jordan. I wonder what he's playing.
Yeah.
So I go and look. He was sitting at a table where all I saw were Jund cards, so I thought he was on Jund. He hadn't written his deck list down. He had like the blank sheet in front of him, so I didn't know he was on Junk Reanimator.
Yeah, Dan actually is a really big fan of his deck. He thinks it's one of the most powerful things you can do in the format, and that like once everything is said and done, that his version or his deck, the basic Reanimator strategy, will be the best thing you can do.
Well, so far it's looking pretty good for him. He had a turn 2 Avacyn's Pilgrim and now a turn 3 Centaur Healer and attacks his Pilgrim, gaining 3 life off of the healer. Brian Greene just able to cast a Farseek at this point.
Farseek is definitely Brian's best turn 2 play.
Sure, he's fine with that. I just less action on his side of the board than on Dan's.
Looks like he has a Bonfire, a second Farseek, and Olivia that's probably coming down. Yeah.
And there she is, Olivia Voldaren. And pass back to Dan.
This is where you see like the strength of Olivia, and like Dan Jordan basically has to cast an Angel Serenity at some point.
Centaur Healer's going to get in.
This is Thrag Tusk is coming to play. We have a Restoration Angel, a Borderland Ranger, I believe, and Angel Serenity. So like, on one hand, you might think like Dan's close to casting his Angel Serenity, but in reality, he's very far away because his Pilgrims are no longer live draws towards that end.
Yeah, they just die immediately to Olivia. Farseek number 2, I believe, from Brian Greene. Foil Farseek.
Why wouldn't it be?
I mean, it lets them search 2 lands then, right? Is that how it works? Is that why
Maybe
people
it's
like foil
untapped?
cards? Maybe it's untapped, yeah.
Oh, it can search out a foil Blood Crypt.
Oh, foil land, that's what it is.
Oh, no.
Or non-foil. I think it's versatile in that way.
Yeah.
Olivia looks to have ticked up after killing an Avacyn's Pilgrim. Dan, though, with opportunity to use Restoration Angel Thrag Tusk, which is
not actually all that good against an Olivia.
Well, gains 5 more life. It's not as good as it can be, but it's still a pretty impressive play. You just want to kill the Olivia.
It's pretty good to respond to a stealing of Thrag Tusk.
Yeah, and that may be exactly what Dan is going to hold his Angel back for.
Yeah, I don't think he'll just. If I was Dan, I would not main phase it, and I don't think.
And there's no reason to main phase it either.
Yeah, I would have actually played the Borderland Ranger that turn.
Just attacks with Thragtusk, gets in, passes back. Greene now in the tank, and he's definitely got 2 copies of the same card. I just don't know what card that is. You see,
Thragtusk?
Is it Tusk?
No.
Oh, I think it is. Yeah. So he's got double Tusk Bonfire. He's got at least double Tusk Bonfire, and then
I believe Borderland Ranger's on top, but I could be wrong. I've been
I think
wrong
it's
before.
a foil, so it's hard to
It's
see.
also not Borderland Ranger
Oh,
because it's not in his deck.
It's Jungle Root based.
Okay. Now Dan has a decision to make if he wants to. Yep, he's gonna creature ultimatum.
Yeah, so there's that Restoration Angel blinking the Thragtusk.
I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of that play because he still can't attack really. What did he draw? Another Centaur Healer?
Yeah, it looks like it. And there's a real beast instead of a dice.
Dan also still needs another white mana source to catch. So not only need another land.
It needs to be white.
It needs to be a white. This could go poor for Dan, I think. This might be a little on the aggressive side.
So he's going to swing in. He's swinging in with everybody.
The Angel basically chump attacked, and he's going to get in 6 damage. But I think the Thragtusk is going to die, unless he doesn't want to kill the Thragtusk.
All right,
Thragtusk is going to die, and he's going to take 6 from the Beast and the Centaur Healer. The Angel will die. The Thragtusk and the Strangleroot Geist will each die after Brian pings.
Yeah, Brian looks like he has not yet pinged, but now it looks like that's what he's doing right now. So he's using Olivia to do that last damage to Thragtusk. Thragtusk goes away.
So if he had just attacked with the Thragtusk, not played the Angel last turn, then Dan would have been able to attack, and then when he went to ping, then Angel there.
Yeah.
And saved him the Thragtusk. It's still creature ultimatum, but it would have dealt less damage. That being said, I don't think damage is how Dan's going to win this game. Dan's basically going to win this game by getting to Angel Serenity.
Yeah, and he's getting
a
a little
white
closer.
source here is unreal.
So Brian goes ahead and casts one of those Thragtusks.
Yeah.
Passes back.
That's actually a really good draw. If he blinks his Borderland Ranger. He drew a Restoration. Dan drew a Restoration Angel.
Okay.
So that's an excellent draw.
He can blink his Ranger, get that last white source, and
I assume he has a second. He has exactly 2 planes. So perfect.
He's at 36 life, so
how many creatures is he throwing
very
away
aggressive
on this attack?
here. So everybody
he's dealing at most 5. I kind of just like not doing anything this turn. Playing the Angel, and then Angel of
Restoration Angel, blink the
turn.
Borderland Ranger, get a land, next turn have the Angel Serenity available.
Correct.
So Thragtusk gets in front of a beast. Olivia is a 5/5 right now, and she's going to just block a Centaur Healer.
I can't imagine a thing where Dan just keeps all his creatures in play.
So there we go. Thragtusk dies, leaves a beast. Strangleroot Geist dies. Borderland Ranger and Centaur Healer get in and are left alongside or opposite Olivia and the beast that was left over from Brian's Thragtusk. So now we have the Restoration Angel blinking the Borderland Ranger.
Rings were brought in. Dan I was clearly aware of the threat that Olivia rigs it anyway. For Olivia not to dominate a game, Dan will happily take.
So there's that last Plains. just two
That's kind of
copies.
painfully obvious because I believe Olivia blocked a Centaur healer that could have been blinked, but Dan opting to go for the Borderland Ranger means that something's up, basically.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised he didn't just decide to do that at the end of Brian's turn. You know what I mean?
Well, the reason you can't wait is because Brian could respond by killing the Borderland Ranger.
That's fair.
So this is a safer play, but it does telegraph that you have an Angel of Serenity coming. Too many angels.
Yeah, it's hard to be like the angel.
Right. Stranger Geist.
And he just passes back, and now I believe another Restoration Angel for Dan.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but
That
is not the angel we're going to see.
One.
Yeah, so here comes Angel of Serenity. Serenity now! Seinfeld reference.
He's
Sorry,
just
guys.
gonna, he's just gonna all three of you guys.
So there's Angel of Serenity there on screen. 5/6 for 7 mana. Mythic Rare. And Brian scooped. Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess that's true. Like, what are you going to do? You're at 5 life, yeah. So Angel of Serenity for the win there for Dan Jordan. And we're headed to game 3. Round 6. 9 rounds today, so we just got 3 rounds after this one before we bring you guys to the top 8. And then tomorrow morning we will bring you the top 4 and the finals of Standard before covering Legacy tomorrow. So, Caleb,
well, this might be like the first time I'm equally as excited for Standard and Legacy. I prefer Legacy as a format.
Yeah,
The Standard format is shaping up to be pretty cool.
I'm pretty excited about Standard right now. Usually I prefer Legacy. It shifts for me, really. It's basically like when there's an awesome Standard deck that I like to play, I like Standard, or when it's a new format like this, I like Standard. Sometimes they overlap, like right now I feel like is kind of where it is. But as the Standard season progresses, I tend to start preferring Legacy more and more. So now I think Brian Greene realizes what kind of deck Dan is playing. You think maybe?
He's going back to his sideboard and doing like actual sideboarding, not just cosmetic stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I think
a lot of times I pick up when I'm playing Dredge. Just by watching Brian, I know he's sideboarded 2 cards in. So he has 2 cards that he didn't have before. So when I play Legacy, I always watch my opponents more than I would, pay attention to my own sideboarding. Just so I know how many cards I'm up against.
Right, okay.
So like what I'll do is I'll bring cards that I might bring out depending on how many like anti-hate cards I feel like I need. I'll bring the cards out to the front. Like for example, if I side out Lion's Eye Diamond a lot, I'll bring that to the front and then see how many cards they bring in. And then sideboard it accordingly.
Just get that little bit of extra information.
Yeah, I mean it's important when something like this, like Dan definitely could pick up information that, okay, Brian's got some hate cards. I don't know what they are, but he definitely has some anti-graveyard cards that he didn't have last game.
Right.
For Dan, his anti-hate card is Abrupt Decay. So that's
deals with like rest.
Specifically told me that if anybody wants to full on hate, he's got some Abrupt Decays.
I think
my preferred card would be something like Ranger's Path, where you just go cast, just do something to cast the cards.
Yeah, I mean,
and side out your Unburial Rights.
We keep mentioning about it being a reanimator list, but we haven't seen reanimation happen at all. We haven't even seen.
There's not much.
Rights. Right. I mean, it's basically just the 4 Unburial Rights, which we haven't seen any.
It's like a Solar Flare deck, where it tends to cast everything it does, but it has some like backdoor ways to, turn 4 Angel Serenity, which is completely unbeatable. And Pilgrim from Dan Jordan.
What kind of forest is that on Brian's side?
That is I don't know how I know this. That is a Slivers forest.
Oh wow, nice.
From the foil Slivers deck.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't recognize that. There's a Strangleroot Geist from Brian, comes in and attacks immediately. And we have an Overgrown Tomb.
And Centaur Healer gains 2 of the 3 life that the Overgrown Tomb cost him. So interesting that Dan decided to bring in his additional Centaur Healers.
Yeah, I was one of those cards I know you had mentioned maybe him bringing out, but
yeah,
I don't think it's too bad. Like it's been pretty good.
It's a little better against this more aggressive version of John with Strangleroot Geist.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, now.
So Brian's going to swing in with the Strangleroot Geist. Dan declines to let it undie and come back bigger.
Yeah. What do you think he's playing around, like a bonfire maybe?
Maybe he's just figuring I'd rather it be a 2-power dude at this point, and I'll keep my Centaur Healer and put on some pressure that way. You know.
Let's see what we got. We got another Centaur Healer, a Restoration Angel.
And there's Centaur Healer number 2 after the first one gets into the red zone. So Dan right now clearly winning the race, not only because his guys gain him 3 life every time when they come into play, but just
because there's
bigger dudes, more of them, bigger guys. Strangleroot Geist looks, you know, right now it's just a 2-1. It's really not that threatening. It's going to take 10 attacks.
I figure like in this type of matchup, if you're racing, the winner of the race is the person that plays the next Thragtusk.
Sure.
So, but imagine that these games don't always come down to races. So, yeah.
Strangleroot Geist going to knock down to 18.
I would have liked to see a block there, but that's okay.
Yep. There's that Thragtusk.
Now Brian Greene is winning the race. And so, like, when both players have Thragtusk, they kind of, these games kind of get into, like, you actually have to, you know, kill your opponent's creatures and, you know, trade in combat favorably.
And we have a block and blink.
Mostly a chump attack, but then the Restoration Angel makes it a little better. Dan Jordan's still on only Avacyn's Pilgrim as a white source. His hand falls apart without that Pilgrim in play.
Yeah. Yeah, all 3 of the non-Pilgrim guys cost white.
Yeah.
And they're what's keeping Dan in this game right now.
One thing we haven't seen from Dan this game, we haven't seen either a Mulch or a Grizzly salvage.
Yeah, this match has been completely devoid of those. I think he's got Unburial Rights, Angel Serenity. Where's that?
Yeah, Angel Serenity.
Okay.
And the green card at the front of his hand. Might be a Mulch. I'm not sure. Might also be something like a Borderland Ranger.
So right now, Dan Jordan...
Likely makes Dan Jordan in.
Yeah, very likely. Dan Jordan here facing down Brian Greene in Game 3 of Round 6. Junk Reanimator and on Dan's side of the board, and then Jund from Brian Greene. Dan has in play 2 Centaur Healers and a Restoration Angel, and it appears he has just lost his Avacyn's Pilgrim, his lone white source, to a Pillar of Flame.
Yeah, a little belated.
Yeah,
but
it would have been great to have it earlier, but hey, still, now Dan is still lacking white sources. Brian's side of the board is a Thragtusk and a Strangleroot Geist. Declines to attack, passes back to Dan. Dan draws not a white source, I believe a Centaur Healer number 3. Yes, it is, and he can't cast it.
He cannot.
He has no white after losing that Avacyn's Pilgrim to the Pillar of Flame. So
it's like a Mulch.
There's a Mulch. You were right. Restoration Angel got in for 3 there.
Plains, and that's it. And I guess an Unburial Rights in the graveyard.
Yes. So there's a Plains.
And there's
1,
the
2,
healer
3.
that
Here
we
comes healer number
could not
3.
cast until then. It's actually a very good thing because we hit a Borderland Ranger as well. So that'll get the other Plains. Hey, based on Dan's draw, I might want like 3 Plains in the deck because it's been an issue.
Yeah, it seems that way. End of turn Wolfear Avenger from Brian Greene flashed in. And now Brian Greene is going to Bonfire for 3.
Hardcast Bonfire for
3 because Angel lived. So all the healers gone. and everybody in. Thragtusk, Wolfear Avenger, and Strangleroot Geist rumbling into the red zone.
All right, so
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So Dan should be closer to 14 or possibly 11.
Yeah.
There's an Unburial Rites from Dan Jordan now.
Borderland Ranger.
Yeah, that's a very unimpressive Unburial Rites, but
you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what you need to do. It's like trading a sweeper for one creature. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it seems bad,
yeah.
but you know what? Right now, this is what the game dictates, and you need that white source. You have an opportunity to get it, even if it costs you Unburial Rites on a Borderland Ranger.
Well, the thing is, he has all the Unburial Rites he could ever want, basically, because he has 2 more in his graveyard.
Oh, now, did he hit that many?
Yeah, he hit 1 with his mulch, and then he just cast 1 from his hand.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I see. That is actually from his hand. I was thinking he flashed back that one for some reason. I don't know why. Right. Yeah, it's actually not costing him very much.
Very unfortunate for Brian Greene that he does not have one of his 2 copies of Kessig Wolfrun. That would be probably a game winner at this point.
Everybody in for Brian Greene, and we have Restoration Angel blocks Wolfear Avenger. Borderland Ranger gets in front of the Strangleroot Geist. Dan takes 5 and goes to 6.
And regenerates his Wolfear, undies his Strangleroot Geist. And Dan might actually be forced to... he has an Oblivion Ring in his hand, and he might actually be forced to Unburial Rites a Centaur Healer to stay alive.
Draws a card. It was not a land, I don't think.
Pilgrim?
Or... Oh, was it a Thragtusk?
Thragtusk, that'd be excellent.
I think it may have been It is. It's Thragtusk.
Yeah, that's... Other than a Sun Petal Grove, I think that's his best best draw there.
I mean, he seems to be pretty happy right now. I mean, he's he's looking at things going, yeah, it wasn't a land, but I'll cast this guy. Is he any good? How's that? Does that work?
Yeah. So
flashed in Wolfear Avenger from Brian Greene at the end of turn, trying to add to the pressure. Dan
so
back up
Brian
to
was just like way ahead. And the Thragtusk is just like completely stabilizes this game.
And everybody in again for Brian. We got two Wolfear Avengers, a Strangleroot Geist that is undead, and a Thragtusk. We got Thragtusk trading for Thragtusk. An Angel is going to block and kill the Strangleroot Geist. Wolfear Avengers both get in. Dan will go to 5, end up with a Beast. Brian Greene loses his Geist, loses the Thragtusk, but ends up with a Beast. And Brian pays 5 mana, plays another Thragtusk.
Yeah, so. I mean, the thing that's insane about this Reanimator deck is Dan Jordan just gets all the Thragtusks he wants. He's going to Unburial Rites Thragtusk and just undo everything that Brian accomplished on his turn with his dominating board position.
Yeah, so there's exactly what he did.
Not only that, but the dreaded 3rd white mana source.
Yeah.
Angel Serenity is online.
As long as Dan gets to untap during his main phase, and then have a main phase.
Brian does not have cards in hand, so he would have to draw one.
If he can answer the Avacyn's Pilgrim, he can stall the Angel of Serenity temporarily.
Nope.
Not a Bonfire, but he's...
Bonfire would be a little unfair.
That's how it works, yeah.
Known to be. Even Kessig Wolfrun would probably do it.
5 mana for a Sever the Bloodline on a Restoration Angel.
You overpaid for it, but whatever.
Yeah, I was like, why did he pay 5?
Why not?
Just pay it all. Everybody in.
So, Dan would ideally not like to fall to 2 life.
So if he goes Tusk for Tusk, Beast for Beast, and take 6, go to 4?
Yeah, that would allow him to cast his Angel, clear Brian's board, and still have a Beast in play, and obviously an Angel. So I think that's his play. The other alternative play would be to, but this would take him to 2, would be to block both Wolfear Avengers, but I don't think that's worthwhile. You'd get to kill one of the Avengers, but...
Yeah, it's not that... I mean, when you've got an incoming Angel of Serenity, those Wolfear Avengers are not as threatening.
The thing is, the Angel's actually going to get removed with the Sever the Bloodline in Brian's graveyard.
Sure, okay.
So, You might actually want to. Yeah, he's getting back a Thrag Tusk.
He's got a hedge on making sure that he gets some value out of that angel.
That's actually a really really smart heads-up play by Dan. Leaving him a Wolfie Avenger, because when Brian goes to sever the angel, he won't have an 8th and 9th land to attack with the Wolfie Avenger as well. So he can definitely take that over take the beast over that, because he won't get back the.
He won't get back the beast, right? Exactly. So Dan does manage to cast his Angel of Serenity, takes a Thrag Tusk out of his own graveyard and a Wolfie Avenger from Brian Greene's side of the board, and leaving Brian and a beast.
What a card!
Leaving Brian with a lone Wolfie Avenger, and Brian untaps, flashes back Sever the Bloodline to get rid of that angel, gets his Wolfie Avenger back, and gives Dan a Thrag Tusk. Believe Dan's hand appears to at least have, it does have one Oblivion Ring, may have another Angel of Serenity. There's some white card in his hand that is not Oblivion Ring.
I believe
it's another Angel of Serenity. All right, so Dan in with his beast. He's going to knock Brian to 14. Plays that Thrag Tusk that Brian is well aware of.
Might even consider Oblivion Ring on
the Avenger.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I think that's what I like that play. No, he's going to pass back.
Alternatively, just save it, break in case of Olivia.
Right. That is one card that he does not want to see.
Right.
Stick around. Brian draws and passes back, and we've got a game. Dan Jordan up to 9 life off of that Thrag Tusk he cast last turn. Brian Greene down to 14. And yeah, that's definitely Angel of Serenity in Dan Jordan's hand. He seems to be itching to pass the turn.
I noticed that as well. I don't think that's what he should do.
He should probably do something here. He can get in, knock Brian to 11, and trade his Thrag Tusk and get a beast, and Wolfie Avenger gets tapped. He can O-ring the Avenger and get in for 9, knocking Brian to 5. He can Angel of Serenity the Avenger, and then like some other things in the graveyard if he wants. So he's gonna go ahead and attack with the Thrag Tusk.
Chump attack. The Thrag Tusk, he wants to cast the Angel and wants to get it back.
Yeah, exactly. He wants to
get back the Thrag Tusk.
Wants to get some value out of it.
I think in Dancy, I think getting back Centaur Healer is good enough that.
Well, I imagine he's going to get. He's going to also. Oh, okay. So, I was going to say he's also going to get Centaur Healers. He's probably going to Angel, take the Avenger, and then get his own Thrag Tusk and Centaur Healer back, unless he's got more than one Thrag Tusk or something available. We know that the.
He's just going to Unburial Rights the Thrag Tusk.
Well, that'll work too. So, Wolfie Avenger blocks, regenerates, leaves Dan with an additional beast. Dan Unburial Rights on Thrag Tusk, and up to 14. Brian at 14, Dan at 14. Brian plays a Wolfie Avenger flashed in at the end of Dan's turn.
Maybe he also wanted to wait because he knows Dan knows Brian has the second Avenger.
Sure.
Because it was stuck in his hand from the first Angel. So he wants to get both in play before he casts his second Angel.
And we have a Slaughter Games.
Wow.
And that's going to rock the Angel of Serenities right out of Dan's deck. Now I bet he wishes he had cast it. It's safer in play, at least from a Slaughter Game. So,
yeah.
Angel of Serenity gone. Dan still with a fairly good board position, but not anywhere near as good as it would have been if he had been able to.
I don't think anything in Dan's deck really goes over the top of the Wolfie Avengers anymore. Brian's at 14. Like there's one Oblivion Ring. There's the Restoration Angels that I think he just drew. So I think, yeah, he definitely drew a Restoration Angel, which is completely insane for him. Combos to the Creature Ultimatum.
Yeah, he's doing some math here. He still has that Oblivion Ring. He wants to probably put it on one of those Avengers to get it out of the way.
The thing is, he was previously in Breaking Case of Olivia mode because he was so dominating.
Yeah. So there he goes, uses the Oblivion Ring on one of the Avengers, and swings in with 2 Beasts and a Thragtusk.
So taste 7. I would have cast the Angel.
Oh, he attacked with the Pilgrim. That's true.
Yeah.
Thragtusk gets chumped by Wolfear Avenger, who regenerates, and Beast.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't, because like if Brian draws another Sever, he could just blank the Beast token that would target it, and say, you know, that would win him the game because the other 2 Beasts would be safe.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. That makes sense. Oh,
so
he's gonna.
Yeah, it doesn't need too much. Brian tried to get him to.
Yeah, do you want to blink one of your beasts?
Beast
and Dan pulls it out after getting his Angels slaughter gamed away. Slaughter games. And so Dan Jordan 2-1 Junk Reanimator over Brian Greene's Jund list. Kind of aggro Jund, you know, more.
Yeah, there's basically two known versions of Jund.
Mm-hmm.
One is the block version.
Okay.
Basically the Huntmaster, Olivia, Thragtusk, Farseek, and then mono removal spells after that. The other is Lord Nolan's String Root Geist, Wolfear Avenger version.